Hey everybody, today is a fitness and wellness party you don't want to miss in the Menowave Lounge. We'll be talking with our guests today about the importance of fitness, especially strength training for bone and joint health, and we'll share our tricks and tips to beat hot flashes, sleep better, and boost our mood. Tune in now with your hosts Marti Daly and Robin Duke for some hot flashes and cool conversations in the Menowave Lounge.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Menowave Lounge. Hot flashes and cool conversations. I'm Coach Robin and this is Coach Marti. And today we have Sheryl with us, Sheryl Vega. Welcome, Sheryl. Welcome to our podcast.
Hello.
Sheryl has a background in nutrition and exercise as a certified fitness professional nutrition expert. During her own menopause journey, she suffered from debilitating symptoms and couldn't find help anywhere. She was hopeful that she could manage her own menopause symptoms naturally, so she went back to the books and became certified as a menopause coach to dig deeper into the issues menopausal women face. This new knowledge, combined with her previous background in fitness and nutrition, enabled her to not just manage, but master her menopause symptoms through lifestyle changes. She now helps other women get off the merry-go-round of symptom management and regain confidence so that they, too, can reclaim their lives and reclaim their vitality. Welcome, Sheryl. So happy to have you.
Oh, I love being here. Thank you.
Sheryl, we're just so happy to have you on and so we can pick your brain on some of these things.
Absolutely.
We do always start out with a minnow moment. And so today, my minnow moment is more of like a self-care moment. And I'm in the middle of fighting off something. And so today I gave myself permission to just take the day and be low key, low energy. And I just weighed the options of what do I really need to do today and what is the importance of it. And the importance was that I was to take care of myself, and I'm giving myself permission to do that. So here I am with my tea, and I'm having this wonderful, amazing podcast chat with two of these lovely ladies, and this is going to be my day. So this is my message, the self-care. How about you, Marti?
Absolutely.
Well, that's so important, Robin, with the self-care. And we can lose sight of that, especially when we're dealing with all of the challenges and stresses and just living the day-to-day life. As I've said before, my hot flashes get tied to stress and anxiety. I'd had a nice little reprieve. I'd probably gone like about 6 weeks or so and without the hot flashes and night sweats. And then I guess something hormonally shifted. But today they just came back with a vengeance, as they always do, as I'm trying to get ready to be presentable. So getting ready and doing the thing where like, okay, I'm drying my hair, but then I have to cool off because I don't want to sweat out my curls. And then I'm trying to put my makeup on and I'm sweating the foundation and it's running down. And I'm like, okay, welcome back. It couldn't happen this morning as I'm doing other things. It's as I'm trying to get ready. So I just laughed to myself because I know what this is. I know how to deal with it. And we're going to talk more about hot flashes as well on this episode, which I'm super happy about. How about you, Sheryl? Got any minnow moments?
So I don't know if you would call it a memo moment, but I am trying to reduce my caffeine intake. I've noticed I've become more and more dependent. My day starts between 5 and 5:30 in the morning. So I find that I'll start out with a bang, but very quickly, you're getting that slump, and I was just coffee. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I've reallocated. I went dry for a little while with nothing just to kind of reset my system, and now I'm trying to do just 1 cup and only do it like every other or every couple of days. When you have too much of something, your body just adjusts and then you need more, just like sugar. You need more. So that was kind of my thing because it was just becoming too much of a crutch and I didn't want that to be the case. Other than that, I got to be honest, I have been blessed to really not have a lot of menopause symptoms. And, I am very in tune. The longer I do this, the more in tune I am with my body to know what my different triggers are, what things, like you said, like stress or caffeine or sugar or spicy foods or lack of sleep, like what's going to cause either a hot flash or cause me issues with, insomnia and fatigue and brain fog. And so I'm pretty much in tune. So I almost can predict when something's going to happen because I kind of fell off my lifestyle plan and I'm like, oh, here we go. I had alcohol. I'm not used to it. I had more sugar than, added sugar, those types of things. And I know something's going to spike. So right now I'm in a really good place. I am in part of a program with my clients called Before Menopause, How to Lose Your Menobelly. So I'm very, very in tune to everything that I put in my mouth, every activity that I do in terms of my cardio workout and in terms of my strength training and my sleep. So I'm really focused in the next 4 weeks because I'm doing the program with my clients. Then we'll see what happens when you go back to not quite as stringent and adherent to a plan.
Wow.
Sheryl, when you may ask, when you went off of the caffeine, did you do it the way that a lot of women unfortunately try to do it and do it cold turkey?
No, I weaned.
Good.
Yeah, nope. I've done it
I
before. I'm like, I have to wean. And yeah, so I didn't have any of the rebound headaches or any of that stuff. So it was really good. So
yeah.
and it's funny, I noticed a difference too in terms of having just a little bit of coffee in the morning, and then after my workouts, I still had energy versus without it. I would kind of push through my workout and then be exhausted the rest of the day. So I just think I have to figure out what my like nice little balance is to have enough to give me energy to get through a workout without having to take a pre-workout, but also not so much that, you're needing it all day long every day to just maintain that.
Well, that's a good point too, is once you find your baseline of what is healthy for you, then when things come into it and are not supposed to be there, you will immediately see it. And then you go, there's something going on there. What is it that I need to, pay attention to or change or,
Right.
what, and this happens a lot when we're on vacation, because we give ourselves permission to do things that we wouldn't normally do in our normal routine course of the day. And that's actually a whole nother podcast too, is how to maintain when you're on vacation and still have fun. But yes, it's a wonderful thing to find your baseline, your balance.
Right. Absolutely.
I really liked what you said. I believe you said this is your motto, and this is how you help women, is to teach women to use lifestyle changes to ease their menopause symptoms. And I just love that, because lifestyle has so much to do with our menopause symptoms. What do you think is one of the most important lifestyle changes that we can talk about first?
I know the number one important thing is, because research has shown it. CNN actually published an article in its research based on lack of sleep is more detrimental to your health than smoking or lack of exercise. So we know that sleep is the number one thing that everybody, not just women, not just menopausal women, but the number one thing that we really need to manage. I think as we get older, there are other things that influence that. We can't rebound like when we were in our 20s to go out partying and stay up late and then be able to recuperate the next day and bounce back. Sleep is the number one thing, because if you don't have that quality 7 to 9 hours of restorative sleep, that's when your body is resting and repairing. And if you don't have that, then all of a sudden you're dealing with the fatigue, the brain fog. You don't have the energy to get through your workout. You don't have the energy to make good decisions. You don't have the forethought to pre-plan your food and prep your meals, and all those other things fall by the wayside. And honestly, the insomnia too, think about it. What do you do when you can't sleep? You get up and you watch TV, which prolongs that inability to go to sleep. And typically, I'm not going to say everybody does this, but we start to snack. You know what I mean? You're going to grab some pretzels, you're going to grab some cheese and crackers. Even if you grab something healthy, you're still putting food in your body when you don't need it, when you should be resting and recovering. So 100%, 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. So that means you're actually sleeping, not getting up every 10 minutes to go to the bathroom, which is another wonderful thing we have to deal with.
So what are some of the things that you're seeing with your clients that they're struggling with as far as falling asleep? We're very much aware we need our sleep. And at this stage of the game, we're not necessarily out partying until 2 a.m.
No.
We're happy if we're home in bed by 9, and then we just lay there awake, because we all want that sleep. But for some of us, it's easier than others.
Right. I think so. I will tell you that you can go anywhere and you hear the normal things. And I'm not saying that they're not valid, because they absolutely are, in terms of getting off the electronics and things an hour before bed, making sure that your room is cool and comfortable, that it's dark, all those types of sleep things. You can take a warm bath before bed to help relax you. You can read before bed, all that sort of thing. But I would say one thing that I don't hear enough about is actually what you do in the morning, is to actually get sunlight. in the morning. So your body, your biological clock has to set with your circadian rhythm, meaning we get up with the sunrise and we go to bed with the sun down. And so many times we talked about this a little bit earlier, your cortisol levels should be nice and high in the morning when you need the energy, and then decrease throughout the day so that your melatonin, the counterpart, your sleep hormone, can rise in the evening and then slowly dissipate so it's low in the morning. That's what you want, those two to be in balance. So sunshine is really important to make sure that you're getting it, whether you're sitting on the deck, going for a walk, driving in the car on your way to work, but to make sure that you're getting sunshine, which will help you reset that circadian rhythm, as well as establishing a set, I'd say, routine, right? Your nighttime routine, your sleep routine. What does that look like? And make sure that it's consistent 7 days a week, not 5 days a week, and then stay up later because you want to watch that movie on Netflix and then sleep later and you really have to be consistent, especially at this, like I said, at this stage where we are. I mean, we're 40, 50 plus. I'm looking at 57. I get it. Like, I need my sleep. I went to bed at 8 o'clock last night. Again, I start my day between 5 and 5:30. So at 8 o'clock, I went in and read for a half an hour and went to sleep. And I was great.
Also, too, not to interrupt, the seasons have a lot to do with it, because in the wintertime, with the getting lighter and darker later, earlier, that actually, for me, it's harder because I am one of those people that like to wake up with the sun. If I have to get up before the sun comes up, my body really does feel, it really resists. It says, no, 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 the sun is not up. But in the summertime, I adjust to that schedule where it's getting light at 6 a.m. So for me, my rhythms do shift with the seasons. And I know that there's a seasonal disorder,
right,
where, a light, sort of UV light that, yeah. And that really does make a difference. In fact, for a while, I was using one that it was a light that would slowly come on like over like 20 minutes.
I was just going to tell you that. Yep.
Yes. And that made such a big difference at the time, because I did have to get up and be early, and it was the winter time. And I really did have a harder time during those moments.
Well, I think too, with the time change, I always tell my clients that you have to reset your circadian rhythm, because now your time changed and your body's used to one set and now they've changed the clocks and you're off again. So it can take a week to 2 weeks to reset that again. And that's why those habits are so important, because no, you're not, I don't get up with the sun. If 5 or 5:30, the sun's not up until 7 here, right? So I know I have to do, like you said, have that light in the morning that slowly wakes up, and then you do the opposite at night. So right now it's dark and it's only 5:30, but in the summer, when it's still sunny at 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, I have to start walking around my house and turning down the blinds, and we have all of our lights are on dimmers, and I start to do that. So I think we're still sensitive to that light, and you can still control that to some degree. And you have to readjust every time the time changes or the sun seasons change, for sure.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Definitely. A lot of women like to think, well, I'm going to have a glass of wine to relax myself before bedtime. Not a good plan. Not a good plan. You might go to sleep, but you're not going to stay asleep, and it's not good
100%.
quality sleep. But getting onto more like the emotional and mental side, because we've got all these wonderful things. However, there are a lot of people that still struggle, whether it's with hypervigilance, their subconscious minds will not let them relax enough to go to sleep. There's certainly techniques, there's certainly relaxation recordings. I mean, I'm a hypnotist, that's what I do. I have one for sleep. Y'all are welcome to reach out and I'll send it to you. But some other things to keep in mind, because we talked about putting ourselves to bed. Robin and I did a podcast episode 4, strictly talking about some sleep tips and tricks. And what I wanted to add that I didn't share then, some people have some unresolved trauma, and our minds are quieting down. And as we're going through menopause, all of our stuff's coming up anyway. Our emotions are all over the place. It's a wonderful time for that little thought or that little memory or that little wounding to decide, I'm going to come up and smack you in the forehead at 3 a.m. So I would just recommend, if you think that's a possibility, reach out to someone who can help you work through some of that. I'm not sure how many people are still doing this. If you are still smoking interferes with our sleep. A lot of people don't realize that. They think, oh, well, I can relax and it's not helpful for your hormones and for all of your sleep systems. And we get so stressed out when we don't get the sleep. I said this before, but I know for me, if I know I have a big day coming up that I need to be alert for, well, I start churning on it ahead of time. And I start like, oh my gosh, well, I can't sleep. And I look at the clock. It's like, oh my gosh, well, it's 5 hours. Oh no, it's 4 hours I'm going to get. And I have to be careful not to get into that trap. And so one of the things that I like to tell people to do is, when you close your eyes and you're just laying there and you're waiting for sleep to come, sometimes you might look at the clock and it's, 12:30. And then you think like 10 minutes have gone by and next thing you know, it's 4 a.m. And you're like, where did that time go? Well, you were awake, but you weren't asleep. You're kind of hovering in between that asleep and awake. I call that hypnosleep. That's a very relaxed state anyway. So when you're hanging out there, even if you don't fall into those nice, refreshing, healing deep levels, you're not conscious. Your body is still relaxing. Your mind is still relaxing. You're still getting some benefits. It's not the same as getting that deep sleep, but I want to share with women is don't panic. When you can do that and just kind of hover in that in between asleep and awake, it's a good rest. It's a good rest. It'll give you enough to get through the next day.
Yeah, for sure. That's like the light sleep versus a deep sleep or a REM sleep. Those are the different states. You only need an hour to 2 of the REM or the deep sleep, or an hour or 2 and an hour or 2 of the deep sleep to actually feel the refresh. So if you are getting those 4 hours of light sleep, it contributes towards your 7 to 9 hours, 100%.
One of the things that I find is that I'll have a hot flash in the middle of the night when I'm sleeping. And leading into hot flashes, they come when they come sometimes, but sometimes they come when you're stressing about something or when you're working out or when you're asleep. Can you talk to us a little bit about hot flashes, Sheryl?
Yeah, so hot flashes and night sweats, pretty much the same thing. One happens during the day, one happens at night. Other countries, European, they call it flushes instead of flashes, same thing.
Flushes.
And that's basically your hypothalamus, right? That's your body thermostat. And there's a misfire when your estrogen is dropping and you've got that gap between estrogen and progesterone. And what happens is all of a sudden your body thinks that it's overheating and it tries to cool down. And ironically, that's what a hot flash is. If you haven't had one, I know you ladies have, I know I have. I had to explain it to a client. I did a workshop about a week ago and someone was asking, she was just, I think like 43, 44, and it wasn't quite, she was like, I'm not really sure. I'm like, oh, you'll know, because it starts kind of in that center. And sometimes it can be center more, in here type of thing. And it bursts outward, right? We feel like we're burning from the inside out. And again, there are multiple different types of things that can trigger that, both environmental, emotional, and physical, that can trigger those. And the biggest thing that I work with my clients is to make sure that they know what their triggers are and then they can manage them. So things like stress, spicy foods, alcohol, caffeine, exercising late at night, high protein meals at night, those sorts of things. And not only to know what your triggers are, but how can you alleviate or minimize them? And you always hear wear layers, and so you can peel things on and off. And especially at night, like you said, when I talk about sleep, hot flashes and night sweats come hand in hand, right? Because I can't sleep because I'm having hot flashes and night sweats, or I'm having hot flashes and night sweats, so I can't sleep. Like it all wheels together. So I really work with keep your head cool, right? Think about it, right? We tell our kids, put your hat on. You're going to lose all your heat through your head if you go outside in that cold. Well, you want to keep that cool. So whether you have an overhead fan or just a small fan at your head at night, that will really, really help to keep that body thermostat under control. Some people have windows cracked. We talk about cool rooms when you sleep, keep your temperature down. Also have moisture wicking types of material for your pajamas, for your bedding. My pillowcase is like a silk pillowcase. Helps with wrinkles, so they say. So I don't know, I'm not a skin expert, but it also keeps it nice and cool. There are other things. You can take a colder shower at night because your body temperature automatically rises between 6 p.m. and 9 p.m. anyway. And then on top of that, you're trying to get to sleep and then you're getting stressed about it and so on and so forth. There are things on the market that are not expensive. If anyone has seen the Side Sleeper cooling gel pillow, are you ladies familiar with this?
Those are wonderful.
Love it. It's so much so that my husband, who doesn't have hot flashes, was like, I want one of those.
Yeah.
And it's not expensive. It's like $40. Go on Amazon, but it's a really nice foam pillow, but it's got like a little cooling gel pocket. So when you lay down, you're actually putting your head on that cooling spot. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So there's a lot that you can do to either alleviate, combat, minimize, and in some cases just completely get rid of the frustration, because it can get bad. Like if you haven't had one, it gets hot enough that you lose your focus, you can't speak. You could be in the middle of a business meeting and be like, okay, what do I do right now? Here it comes, hang on, that type of thing. I was blessed that I never turned really red, which I'm shocked because I've got the rosacea, I'm always red. But so many clients will get beet red and they have that flush going on, and that's embarrassing. So I think we have to have that in the conversation so that everybody understands that it's just a part of life, like saying, excuse me, I have to go to the ladies' room. Maybe you're just having a hot flash, maybe you're going for a pee. I don't know, but we have to make it more common that we can just kind of excuse ourselves and come back like any other time, right?
So hot flashes are definitely one of those you have to kind of take them when they come and why they're there. I do love the cooling pillow, but also I adjust by having one foot out underneath the blankets, cooling off. And then that's my thermostat, is my cooling my feet off. But when I'm in public, and especially when I'm hanging out with my friends and one of us has a hot flash, we start laughing about it because it's acceptable to have it. And we're like, oh, we're losing weight. We're just, or I have one friend, she carries a fan and she'll just carry and it's a pretty little fan. And we accept it as part of life. And we don't judge ourselves for it. And we don't feel ashamed about it. And we don't shame ourselves about it. If that is something that you're just starting newly to have, you give yourself a little permission to go, okay, this is, my body changing and this is how I'm adjusting to it.
I always like to look at it when it happens with me, and mine lasts longer than a few minutes. So if I was going to go hide in the bathroom, it'd probably be there all night till I stop sweating, because I sweat. I mean, it's like my back will be wet. But what I like to think about is just imagine that as that's coming up, it's like I'm just releasing on the emotional subconscious side. It's like, I'm just letting go of old stuff I don't need, old thoughts, old memories, old beliefs. Those are just burning off with the hot flash. I'm just letting it go. And it's funny talking about, I keep my ceiling fan on every night, 365 days a year. It was -10 the other night. And my husband's like, do you want the fan? I'm like, yes. The fan is a non-negotiable. I have to have my ceiling fan on. Like Robin said, I'm proud of myself actually, because I don't pretend it's not happening. I have my fans. I have an assortment. I have some girlfriends that are on my age and even on upwards, and they love my fans. And like, I'll start sweating. I was even at the gym. I was in the locker room and it was a cold day. And I was talking to this older lady and I said, well, I don't really get cold anymore. And she's like, oh, I remember those days. You're going to get through them. And I thought that's such a beautiful solidarity. And it's such a beautiful conversation I can have with a stranger. Whereas I'm sure that our mothers couldn't or didn't, or maybe wanted to, but didn't. I just think it's great to bring it up. It's normal. Most of us go through it at one time or another, and we don't know. And it can be very, disconcerting the first few times it happens. And now it's like, I sweat.
Yeah.
I'll cool off eventually.
It's a pretty high number. Don't quote me that this is correct, but isn't it something like 80% of women that go through we all go through menopause, but 80% of women going through menopause will experience hot flashes or night sweats. That's a pretty high number. Yeah. Considering all the different symptoms you can have. Like that's, I think, why it gets talked about the most, is because it's one of the most profoundly and widely experienced symptoms.
Mm-hmm. One more thing I wanted to add on that is I remember when I was a kid and I was cold, and my dad used to say, well, just think warm thoughts. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't really get it. And now okay, so now I get it. Think cool thoughts. Think cool thoughts. Might as well. It's not going to hurt when you feel that bloom coming up. And that's another thing. I've also heard of it called, it's like imagining it like a bloom, because it blooms from the center outward. I love that. But when you feel that coming on, just close your eyes, take a moment, and just imagine that you're standing under a cool waterfall, or you're standing outside and the wind is blowing across your head, because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is imagined. So try it out, take a moment and see what happens. I do it too. When I was telling you ladies about trying to get ready, that was one of the things that helped me be presentable. It's like, okay, I'm imagining that it's Monday and it was 10 degrees below and I'm freezing outside. It helped.
Sheryl, so how does stress affect us, either with our hot flashes or in other areas of our lives?
So actually, Marti will probably want to chime in on this too. So stress, da 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 da, cortisol levels, da 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 da, think, fight, or flight, right? I always tell clients. So when you're stressed, you go into that fight or flight mode. Your body only has one reaction, that fight or flight. It doesn't differentiate between the type of stress. So whether you are running for your life from a saber-toothed tiger or you are in a traffic jam late to work, stress is stress is stress. Your body responds the exact same way. That adrenaline and cortisol rush is either to stay there and fight off that predator or to run for your life. And in our day and age, we can all say, there's no avoiding it. Stress is constantly in that rat race of dealing with family, finances, aging parents, getting your kids through high school, into college, household, job, career, everything. It's there. And my husband has this saying, he always says it's 10% situation, 90% how you deal with it. Right. And for the longest time, I would be like, okay, yeah, whatever, ha ha ha. And the older I'm getting, the wiser, I'm like, it really is. I can't get rid of the stress in my life. It's going to be there. I'm going to have that panicked phone call from one of my kids. They're 20 plus years old, but they still call mom, right? Or, when my parents were alive dealing with health issues or whatever, it's the business, there's something. So I really, really, really find it helpful is to learn how to deal with it, because you can trick your body into getting out of that stress mode. Because as soon as you do the deep breathing, the meditative type of thing, especially the breathing, to slow down your breathing, slow down your heart rate, it tells your body, your sympathetic nervous system, like, oh, you're safe. It's okay. You can relax. And that helps bring that stress level down. So that is huge in that minute of like, oh my gosh, I'm running late. I've got to do. The other biggest thing is I tell my clients that and Robin, you mentioned this, is self-care. And self-care for so many people is, oh yeah, I take a vacation once a year or twice a year or whatever. Like, no, self-care is every single day, every week, every month. Like it just depends on what that looks like. So it may be you take 1 or 2 vacations a year. It may be that once a month you go out of town. I do like an at-home spa myself. I have 2 days a week, Wednesdays and Sundays, where, and ladies, you can relate to this. I'm in a gym all day, so I'm sweating all the time. So I'm always in the shower, but they're quick. I'm like in, out, hair in a ponytail, throw on deodorant, da, da, da. So on my Wednesdays and Sundays, I actually take a much longer shower. I do everything top to bottom, deep condition, mask, you know what I mean? All that fun stuff. And I'm like, that's what I do twice a week. It takes time because when you look good, you feel good. So those are 2 of the things that I do in a weekly basis. On a daily basis, and this is part of the reason I get up so early, is I ease into the morning. I am not the type of person that when the alarm goes off, I can hit and go. So I literally have a running joke. And again, you have to do what works for you, is my husband gets up about 15 minutes ahead of time so that he can bring me coffee. He will be walking down the hall going, okay, you need to sit up now. Like literally, like, okay, so I go from line, like, okay, now I'm sitting up, get my cup of coffee. I'm like, okay, I give myself X amount of minutes, finish my coffee, and then, okay, feet on the floor. So I like have to ease into my morning. I don't want to be in that, oh my God, I'm late. I got to run around crazy. I have this whole morning ritual so that I ease into my day. My cortisol levels stay where they should be, high for energy, but not high in that stress mode. And I get to work and I go about my day. So you have to find what works for you, daily, weekly, monthly, so on and so forth. What are some of the things that you guys do to focus on managing that stress? Because we can't always reduce it, but we can manage it and reduce how we respond to it.
So I'm going to throw something out there because I'm going to get on my soapbox for a moment. We know the importance of exercising our body, moving our body for health. Yes. That is drummed into us. And we can't just go and pound at the gym for 45 minutes once a month or twice a year and expect that that's going to give us the fitness level and the health benefits that we want. I challenge everyone listening to this that our emotions, our mind is much the same, especially when it comes to how we deal with stress. just like anything else, we need to train our minds and our body to recenter, to ground ourselves, to relax. And so what that looks like is taking 20 to 30 minutes and checking out. Every single client that I have, no matter what we're working on, because they're deep breathing, because they're relaxing their bodies and then relaxing their mind, one of the side effects, whenever we're done, is they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so relaxed. And it helps them throughout the rest of the day. So you can do that. You can certainly listen to guided meditation, self-hypnosis recordings. But what you can also do, and I recommend for people to do this, and I had someone say, oh, nobody has time for that. I'm like, well, no, we can argue we don't have time to go to the gym. We don't have time to do a lot of things. Coming back into putting ourselves first in our self-care, you can put some spa music on, put some binaural beats, solfeggio frequencies, healing bells, put that on, set your timer on your phone for, 20 minutes, kick back, close your eyes, and just do nothing. That's why I recommend hypnosis. I'm a big fan of, because it's easier to follow someone else guiding you than letting all the chatter come in. But some people, especially if they're used to meditating and they're able to do that, I just say, just listen to the music. Don't even worry. If you think about something else, go just focus back in on what you're hearing. What that does is it relaxes your mind. It relaxes your body. It gives your system a chance to just take a break. And you do build on that. And so when the bigger stuff happens, then it's easier to just reset and find that state of calm, down that peace of mind, because you've been training it in. And it's the easiest thing to do. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to sweat, although we're probably going to sweat if we're having hot flashes, but just kick back. It's the most beneficial thing that you can do with really doing nothing at all. And I love that. I incorporate that in my practice. I don't do it every day. I want to get to the point where I'm doing it every day, but I do it at least 5 days a week. And I talk about, I have the stress, especially when it's like situational, momentary, like jumping on a podcast. But my stress levels, like on my smartwatch, they're low. They are low the whole time. And I've got kids, I've got business, I've got the same challenges everybody else does. But that is something that I am just such a big proponent of, like, just kick back and relax, because otherwise we'll just put it off. We'll put it off. Like, well, I don't have time today. I'll relax tomorrow. Well, yeah, you'll go on vacation, and maybe you've got a vacation come at the end of the month. Wonderful. Great. What are you going to do today?
Right. When we're talking about stress is something that does build up, like, over time. And when we don't manage our stress properly, then we can go off like a rocket, or we can have those hot flashes, or, we can make irrational decisions because we're in stress mode. But Sheryl, I like what you said about having a routine in the morning that keeps you more calm and moving forward. And then Marti, being able to capture that when in the middle of the day, when you know that you're hitting those high stress. And I know for me, I try to balance through the day. I know that some days are more hectic and busier than others, but I also know that I can recognize it quicker when I'm hitting those higher levels of stress and go, okay, I need to either do something like what Marti said, which is just kind of take 5-10 minutes and just like tune everything out. Maybe it's close my eyes, maybe it's having a cup of tea, maybe it's going for a walk. But I think the bigger key is just recognizing when those stress places hit you and how you're going to manage that. Because what if you're in traffic and all that stress is built up from the course of the day, and of course you hit like a road rage moment? I mean, that's not going to help you or anybody else around you, and it can become very dangerous. You can go into deeper levels of understanding where your stress is coming from. And sometimes we can't help that we have, days that are built in that are extremely stressful, where you go from one thing to another, to another, to another. I know for me, I try to pay attention to those kinds of days and go, okay, what is it in this day that I can do to manage it a little bit better? And maybe it's changing an appointment. Maybe it's taking something out of my schedule, that I need to look at in order to stay balanced. I need to stay in tune. I need to help myself not to hit those high stress moments,
Yeah. And journaling is something else too. Why it helps. It helps with sleep. Like if I journal at night, all those thoughts are down on paper. They're there and they're over there. I don't have to have them in my head, but it helps deal with that stress. And I don't know about you guys. I'm a mom of 3 grown daughters. in my, 30s, early 40s, it was like a badge of honor to be doing it all, right? To be a mom and a wife and run a business and do all these things and like go, oh my God, I do this and this and this. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't need to have every minute of my life scheduled. I don't need to be the only one doing everything. Like, I'm okay if in the middle of the day I come home and because again, I start my days early. If I come home and I need to chillax for an hour in the middle of a workday, that's okay. Like, if I need that, I need that. And it's okay to give ourselves some grace, take the time when we need it, and have that quiet time in the middle of the day. That's okay. It's okay. And I've learned that as I've aged. Like, I don't have to do everything. And the dishes in the sink, they'll be there later. I wish they weren't, but they will. But they don't have to get done right now. I don't have to do it all. So I think that helps to just have that mindset of it's okay to give yourself some grace, take some time, and put yourself first.
Right. And I say it like, give yourself permission to do that, because when you say give yourself permission, those are magic words.
Right.
You're not being bossy with yourself, but you're just saying, hey, I'm not superwoman today. I am in charge of my own life. And at this point, I'm going to listen to my body, my heart, my soul, my spirit. What is it telling me? I need to take 5 minutes, go sit down, get myself together, and then I can do it. So, Sheryl, I want to spend this last little bit of time talking about how important fitness and nutrition are in this whole picture of our lifestyle changes and how they help our menopause symptoms. Can you speak a little bit about the importance?
Yeah, they're huge. Just to kind of recap, I always start with sleep, because if you don't have sleep, again, you're going to make bad decisions about what you eat. You're not going to have the energy to work out, so on and so forth. Stress, hot flashes go hand in hand with sleep, making sure that that quality energy level is there. Stress, same type of thing. You're not going to make good decisions when you're stressed. You're not going to have the time, if you don't figure it out, to get to the gym or meal prep. So those things, once they're kind of in check and we've got a good handle on them, then that's when I work with my clients on popping into the nutrition and the fitness component. And so many times I talk about it kind of like a triangle, but then you want it a little bit like upside down, right? And like a pyramid, because the base of all that's got to be your foundation is your nutrition. You've got to have your nutrition in check based on what foods you need and will support your lifestyle. And then the top of that triangle, those two corners, are going to be your exercise components. And that's going to be some sort of cardio, endurance type of exercise, and strength training. I cannot stress to women, you must strength train. It is probably the number one thing that my ladies do not want to do, because they don't want to get bulky and big and muscly. And I'm like, it's not going to happen. I lift heavy things and I am not big, bulky. Like, my neck is not big and thick and I lift heavy things. Like, it's okay. So I really want people to make sure that they know that they are following a plant-based diet. Doesn't mean you can't have meat, but it should be heavy on plants, fruits, vegetables, legumes. Think about the Mediterranean diet. I want you to eat that type of food as close to natural, whole, clean foods, as organic as possible, so on and so forth, focusing on fruits and vegetables, whole grains, nuts, legumes, and then that meat is kind of at the top of that. Red meat, very rare. Fish, seafood, great, easier to digest. And if you go completely plant-based, then you can add in things like tofu, tempeh, seitan to get your protein. Mm-hmm. When you get into exercise, I explain to my clients that what you did in your 20s and 30s no longer works in your 40s and 50s. You can't do that HIIT, high intensity interval training. It's going to spike your cortisol levels, especially at 7 o'clock at night. That's not what you want to do. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't offer a HIIT class and that I don't have my ladies do it, but it's a Saturday morning at 8 o'clock in the morning when your cortisol should be high, and we only do it once a week. It's not the end all be all. I really focus on strength training because as you're building muscle, you're actually burning your body fat. Muscle is more dense, takes up more space. You want to make sure that you're building your muscle. It's thermogenic. It burns better calorically, and therefore it increases your metabolism as well. So that's important. Strength training helps with your bones and your joints and density because it actually increases your bone density. Every time you contract that muscle and lift something heavy, you're pulling on the ligaments and tendons, and that's helping increase your bone density. Client after client after client, once they start to strength train, have almost 100% improvement in their joint pain, alleviating, gone. They might have, a little arthritis here and there. I hear it all. Oh, I can't work out because I have bursitis. I have arthritis. No, that's exactly why you should be working out, because when you don't use your muscles, you lose them. You don't use it, you lose it. And guess what? Your joints were not meant to do the job of your muscles, but that's what's happening. So when you see people having to have knee and hip replacements with their on walkers, when they get into their 70s and 80s and they're not able to do functional daily life skills, it's because those muscles were not worked and they're now relying on their joints, which are not meant to do that job.
It's good to know. May I ask, a lot of people, maybe they love to do their cardio and they haven't really dabbled much in strength training itself. What would you recommend for someone who is just starting out? Maybe exercise is kind of a new thing, but maybe they've just been doing cardio. What would be a good place for someone to start?
So a couple of different things. I mean, it depends on if you have access to a gym, right?
Mhm.
So I happen to own a gym with my husband. So obviously that's my frame of reference. Whenever I get a new client that has not had experience in strength training or weightlifting, I always put them in the machines. Here's why. It will force you to have good form. If I was to tell you, here's a 50-pound barbell, strap it on your back and give me squats, you've got to know positioning. You've got to know that your back has to stay straight, that your knees can't travel forward or toe, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to work. But if I tell you, go sit in that leg press and push, you can do that. Right? Because everything is in where it should be. You just have to push and you're going to get that same type of strength training. So I'm a really big component on, if you don't have a strong background, get to the machines that can actually focus on a specific muscle group until you build up the strength and the confidence. And then from there, you can get into like a cross cable or something back and forth before you go into the free weight. So we kind of progress as we go through. And a couple of different things with strength training is you want to work to failure, not fatigue. So many times people just do their 3 sets of 10 reps, three sets of 10. That does nothing. You have to get to the point. Failure and fatigue. Here's the difference. Fatigue is, yeah, I'm tired. I don't want to do this anymore. Failure is when I physically cannot lift those weights or I physically cannot do another push-up. Now you're at failure. So if you're doing that 3 sets of 10 time and time again, you're not pushing yourself. You need to move up in volume. You need to move up in weight. You need to push yourself out of your comfort zone. That's huge because you actually, in the gym, you're not building muscle, you're tearing it. You're going to eat protein to feed it, and you're resting, going back to that sleep, 7 to 9 hours. That's when you build muscle. That's when it's rest, recovery, and repairing that muscle. So you really need to have all those components in place with your strength training workout, making sure to hit every muscle group a minimum of 2, ideally 3 times a week.
I know a lot of people that are not used to that concept of, you want to go to the point of failure, but it hurts. It hurts the next couple of days. And I know a lot of people, especially if they're not used to exercise, that is a big deal breaker. That's like, I don't like hurting. I don't like to feel that way. And then they don't. I've had so many loving arguments with friends of mine. They're like, no, I don't like it. I'm not going to work out because I don't like to hurt the next day. And I'm like, but there's a difference between injury pain and the repair process.
Good pain and bad pain.
Yeah.
Yep.
Can you speak to that? What would you say to someone that's like,
so that's called DOM. DOM is your friend. That's delayed onset muscle soreness. So, and then next, and everybody's different, 24, 36 to 48 hours, you'll have that soreness afterwards. First of all, when I work with my clients, I meet them where they're at and I set you up for success. I am not going to, again, strap that 50-pound barbell and tell you to go ahead. No, you're not going to be able to get on and off the toilet. Like, I'm not going to do that to you. When I'm working with somebody new, I'm always like, okay, we're just going to wake up your muscles. So we're not going to go to failure for day one. We're just going to wake them up. That's kind of the terminology I use, meaning we're going to see where you're at and we're going to start to wake them up and get them moving and then advance. Yes, you'll still be sore because sometimes it's a shock, but I let them know that you will acclimate to that. You will not be sore every single time you work out for the rest of your life, at least not to the point you are those first couple of times, right? And there's things that you can do to alleviate that. So lymphatic drainage is great. Foam rolling, stretching to get that toxin out that's released from that muscle, just like when you have a deep tissue massage. hydrate to flush everything out of your system, magnesium, whether it be an Epsom salt bath or actually magnesium that you ingest, will help with muscle soreness. So there's a lot of ways to limit or alleviate that muscle soreness. I work with you where you're at and ease you into that, where you're then ready to lift heavy things. And so many of my clients are now strapping on a 50-pound barbell and doing squats because they started with a body weight squat with, like a PVC pipe, or then they move to the leg press, and we work with you where you're at, move you through that process till you're challenged. You know what? Because if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you.
Right.
So my question is, for workouts like Pilates and yoga, how do they fit into a routine like that?
I love that. Oh my gosh, I love that. So that would be another component is stretching. So whether you're stretching pre and post your workout, you take a yoga class, stretching is really good because we lose flexibility. So absolutely you should do that. Here's the issue though, it's not strength training. So it would not be replacing what you're doing. It would be in addition to what you're doing. My oldest daughter is a 28-year-old Pilates instructor in Toronto, Canada. She has finally come to me and she said, Mom, I need to strength train. She said, I love Pilates and I'm fit and toned, but I'm not building any muscle. And I'm noticing I'm still weak. Can you help me set up a plan? So I'm not against Pilates. I take yoga as well, 1 day a week on a Sunday. Absolutely. But that is kind of like the icing on the cake type of thing.
It's like all these pieces, slowly incorporating them in or jumping in to wherever your comfort level is. These are great lifestyle choices that all affect how our menopause symptoms act in our life or in our body.
It does.
Right. And there's no one magic pill. There's no one way everybody does it. Everybody does it a little bit differently. And the message that Marti and I and all our wonderful care providers bring to the table in these conversations is that find ways to start incorporating these things. And you don't have to change your whole lifestyle upside down, but this is called working on yourself. When you start doing these things and you start working on yourself, then you're going to start having forward motion and forward movement. And it will all start balancing and coming together holistically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. But you got to put the work in order to see the results and to make your life flow more and be more balanced and it's every day. It's not just one thing, it's all of it. It's all of it. And I know that feels a little overwhelming, but just pick a couple things and start doing a forward motion, whether it's paying attention to your eating, getting your exercise in, whether that means going to a gym or even just increasing your walking routine every day. It means paying attention to your sleep, paying attention to your nutrition, and just little tiny steps make the biggest results.
That's so true. And whenever I'm working with a new client, like I said before, I meet them where they're at and I set them up for success. I've had clients come to me and say, just give me a meal plan. I'm like, no, I'm not going to just give you a meal plan. I need to see where you're at right now. What are you doing right now? And then we'll pick one thing to change. Talking about all the different lifestyle changes, even just focusing on nutrition, let's pick one thing in your nutrition. What can we do? Let's start with breakfast. Great. You're not eating breakfast. Let's start eating breakfast. What does that look like? After a week or two, you've got that locked in. Okay, let's go next. And we take those baby steps. So it doesn't seem so overwhelming that I have to make all these lifestyle changes or all these nutrition changes at once. Meet people where they're at and give them the baby steps. How to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And I think the other thing, and we didn't touch on this in the conversation, is I have nothing against HRT, menopausal hormone replacement therapy. It's just not something I chose for myself. But I want to make sure women understand, even if you choose that and it's successful and healthy, that doesn't mean you don't make the lifestyle changes. You still have to have these lifestyle changes because the stuff that these lifestyle changes is doing is not just going to happen with HRT. You still need to have exercise, proper nutrition, good sleep. All these things still have to happen. And yes, the HRT can take away these symptoms, but we're also aging. Things are happening. Our liver is getting slow and sluggish because we're aging. So we need to make sure that we're allowing our liver to do its job. It's the largest internal detoxification system. We need to help that with proper nutrition and exercise and hydration and so on and so forth. So I really want the message to be the lifestyle changes have to happen if you want to live a long and healthy life with or without that coming into play. It's not the end all be all.
And you're exactly right. I know we've talked about with the other care providers is like, what can I take? What can I take? And then we see people, okay, I finally got my patches. Great. All of my problems are solved. And I'm thinking, what's going to make that work better for you is if you make those lifestyle changes, if you clean up your nutrition, do the fitness, deal with the emotional stuff and the sleep and all of that. All of that stuff is going to make that HRT work so much more effectively for you. And if you're one of those that chooses not to or can't for whatever reason, you still have all that added bonus if you are doing everything that naturally that you can to help keep your body healthy. One thing I wanted to circle back around to is, we talk about changing the nutrition and the fitness. I saw it with my own clients. I had people saying, I don't want to give up my creature comforts and you're taking so much away from me. I want to just be able to eat this, what I want. I don't want to have to do this. I don't like the taste of healthy food, you name it. When we're trying to give advice to someone saying, well, think of your why. Why do you want to do this? Why is this so important to you? And Sheryl, you had the most beautiful, I've written it down. I just love that golden nugget. What do you say to people say, look for your why, Sheryl?
I said, I don't care about your why. I want to know your who.
Yes.
Who are
what
you?
Does that
Who
mean?
you want to be? I heard something the other day that said the guy that's 6 feet under is wishing that they could run that mile, eat that kale salad. And that's the thing is, yeah, we do. So many clients, I want my glass of wine. I want whatever. Okay, but who do you want to be? Because once you know who you want to be, you can't say one thing and do another. If you say, I want to be fit and healthy, and then you're not going to change your diet and you're going to have your glass of wine or two every night and you're not going to get your quality sleep or whatever, then you're not going to be fit and healthy. Sorry. So a lot of times I work with my clients and I have them write what's called a future self letter. I'm going to say, from my future self to my current self, thank you for the gift of, and go through all the things that I want my future life to be, whether that be 1, 3, 5, whatever, 10 years. Usually 1 year is good enough to get us started. Anyway, I tell them to do everything, what they're eating, the job, where they're living, who they're married to, their relationships, their family, their haircut, the clothes they wear, their daily hobbies, activities, like everything they can think of. Write it in that letter, thanking your current self for those achievements. Once that's done, then start acting like it. Start living into that person. If you want to be fit and healthy, then what does a fit and healthy person do? They get up in the morning, they go for a walk. They get 7 to 9 hours of sleep. They eat their fruits and vegetables. You know what I mean? They have a positive mindset. Take massively aligned action towards who it is that you want to be, because the why is easy. I want to be around to play with my grandchildren. I want to be able to travel. That's great that you have a why, but who do you want to be? What are your pillars of health? What are your pillars of your personality, and live into those? And I think we should be lifelong learners. We should always be trying to level up, always try to do better, 1 to 3% every day, do better than the day you did before. And that's making the right choices for you and who you want to be, not just why you want to be that person.
Just to add to that, when I work with my clients, one of the things that I have them do is very similar to the letter, but I also have them do it in a meditative format where you're visualizing actually what it is that you want to be. What does that perfect life look like for you? What are you doing? And putting as much detail and attention into that. Because once you can define what that is, then you know when you get there. If you don't know, then you're going to be wandering around trying to figure it out. Okay. But once you can actually put that picture in front of you, that vision changes your mindset, because that's always something that's present. That's something that you're always in front of you. And, and every day you make those strides, you lean into it. Like Sheryl said, you can actually within a year measure how far you have come. And if you're doing this, you're going to see that you're going to succeed that by far, just because you've taken these steps.
I always use the analogy, like when you figure out your who, that's your destination, right? So if you're going on a trip, you have a destination. You want to get somewhere. So figure out your who, that's your destination. You know where you're at. Now you got to figure out how to get there. So you've got to take those massively aligned steps to get there. Figure out that roadmap, but be prepared to adjust as you travel on that journey towards who. Because there will be things that happen that throw you off or are an obstacle that you need to get around, or you may change your destination. That might not be your final destination, right? It all depends. So I always feel like you should have like structured flexibility. So my days are very structured with what I've got to do this, and this, but they're flexible because if I have to make a quick turn or pivot because all of a sudden something's changed, a client cancels or you get a flat tire, you've got to be able to do that. Well, the same thing on your roadmap. You've got to be able to maneuver, pause when you need to, you fall off the road, get back on, so on and so forth.
Very good. Absolutely. Well, Sheryl, I want to thank you for being on with us. If somebody wanted to work with you, how would they get a hold of you?
You know what? The easiest way is go to my website, SherylVega.com, SherylVega.com. All the contact information is there. I am on Facebook, TikTok, not so much on Instagram, but you can find me at Sheryl Vega or Midlife Menopause Mentor. That would be my hashtag name, or what is it called?
Handle.
Yeah, right. But my handle. Thank you. My handle. There you go. But yeah, SherylVega.com would be the best way because I have instant messaging right on there, and you can always find me on Facebook.
That's awesome, Sheryl. And we're just so glad that you were on. Marti, is there any last roundup comments that you have?
One thing that I wanted to talk about when we're talking about looking into who we are in the future, who we want to be, writing it down, all of that is good stuff. I just want to add one more layer that's going to make it even more powerful is when you're thinking of who you want to be and what that looks like, remember to connect to what that feels like to be there.
Yes.
If I am a woman who gets up at 6 a.m. and does my workout, well, what does that feel like? What does it feel like to be a woman who does that? I mean, when you're feeling like that satisfaction or that, hey, I'm proud of myself, I did this today. I always advise, remember to connect to that emotion, to that feeling, because then that creates the neural pathways and it just becomes more and more a way of integrating it as part of your life. And I just want to say before we sign off, if you're struggling with stress management, if you're struggling with your sleep, if you're struggling with, you think there may be some deeper traumas or deeper issues going on, if you're looking to stop smoking, if you're looking to get that motivation, I know a lot of women struggle with emotional eating and cravings and just lack of motivation. Hypnosis is an excellent tool to work through those challenges. So if you want to know more about how I work and what that looks like, visit my website, martidaly.com. And you'll see a webinar, sign up for that. It's free. It takes about 45 minutes and you'll get a really good feel for how I work with people and just how a lot of this work can help end your stress and overwhelm and mood swings through menopause.
Awesome.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Marti. And once again, for the ladies in the menopause group, we like and share because there's so many ladies out there that need to hear the message that we're sending. We are also on now. We're on iHeart, Amazon, and many other platforms.
Spotify.
Yes. So jump on and share the message. Okay. Well, this is everyone. This is it. Hot flashes and cool conversations. Thanks for joining us. See you next time.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank you for joining us in the Menowave Lounge.